warm outside today, although looks like the sun is starting to fade away. The last time I was out there. Still, you can't beat the temperatures. Roll your windows down, listen to the radio, and enjoy your afternoon. Obviously, the biggest story going on right now, besides the usual big ones, is the shooting in Colorado. This is a 21-year-old guy, goes into a grocery store and ends up ultimately shooting 10 people. He is now being accused of 10 counts of murder. And, of course, last week we had the shootings at the spas in Atlanta, which is ultimately going to do exactly what it's done. It's going to fire up all of the anti-gun folks, all of the new gun law restrictions are needed folks, and, of course, the gun folks are going to essentially verbally fire back.
I don't really think that it's going to. I know a lot of people want to say, oh, they're going to ban guns. That's not it. It's legislation that has been sitting around and they couldn't pass about automatic weapons, large capacity magazines, the things that, and universal background checks, things that make sense. I don't understand why everybody takes it to either extreme. There is a middle ground. That grocery store is one that my son shops at all the time. So that as soon as I heard about it, I'm texting him, no, please tell me you weren't grocery shopping. Now they weren't.
Did he know what was going on before you contacted him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's in Boulder.
Well, no, but I just didn't know if it was kind of an instantaneous thing that you saw and you sent him and said, well,
it hit the news long before, notifications went out all over, CNN or something. So.
I apologize. I actually forgot that. I knew your son was in Colorado. I forgot that he was in Boulder.
Yeah, that's his King Soopers. You either go to King Super or you go to Kroger, one or the other, and that one is about half a mile from his house. And it's one that when I'm out there, that's where you go, King Super. So, yeah, it was, I wish he had that I Am Safe app, you know. But, yeah. No,
it's you hit the nail on the head about a few things. It is nobody that's trying to take your guns away. It's the easiest cop-out to be mad about the idea of stricter gun laws. You're not taking my guns away. Nobody's trying.
No.
Nobody's trying. Although, what part of this is, he used an AR-15 is what's being reported.
Okay. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I just reread the latest of everything I could read, so I had a working knowledge of all of this. And I want to hear from everybody, especially if you think it is a crazy idea to make more stringent background checks. Now, I will say this to the opposition of it, and we'll get on to our first break here in a little bit, so if you do want to call, we'll do that into the next break. But, the opposition of this is, responsible gun owners don't have these problems. That's true. Responsible gun owners don't. I will also say that in Chicago, they have strict gun laws, and yet Chicago is the murder capital of America every weekend. Every weekend. So I would say to you that those necessarily have been put in place don't work. I mean, you're right. Lola said there has to be a middle ground. There has to be a middle ground. I mean, carrying around an AR-15 is intimidating to many, and it's, for some, apparently a necessity. I don't understand where those two things can't find somewhere in the middle.
You said the important thing, responsible gun owners. The problem with Chicago in particular is the influx of illegal guns.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know if you won't stop that with gun laws, I don't think.
No, you won't stop it with anything.
Yeah, I mean
there are still shootings in Great Britain and in Europe where they have the strictest gun laws ever. Even the police don't carry guns unless they're on their version of a SWAT team, So you're not going to stop it altogether, but to do it, and we don't know anything about this guy. He's a 21-year-old. He may have legally gotten the gun. Who knows? But there has to be other factors involved, including mental illness. I mean, people you don't get up in the morning and go, I think I'm going to take my gun and I'm just going to go shoot up a grocery store. People don't do that if you're in your right mind.
No, I agree with you. And the problem about talking about this in real time is we don't have all the facts, although not having all the facts is honestly what gets people talking. I mean, that's just part of life. I mean, that's just part of life. We take what we know and we run with it until something else unfolds, and then we go with that. Here's what we do know. The guy's 21 years old, has spent at least this article says, most of his life in the United States. Really, the speculation now comes from both sides. Is it domestic terrorism? Was he because he has his name, and I am trying to do my best to say it properly, Ahmad Alawi Alyssa is my best guess. Alawi?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the best guess. I mean, you don't want to point fingers and go, well, this guy is a this or this guy is a that. He very much could have been a very patriotic American. We don't know. We don't know. But, I mean, obviously the hot new term besides cancel culture is hate crime. Is this a hate crime? Everything's a hate crime of some sort. Well, I got to tell you, most isn't done by necessity. It's done out of hate. Things like this aren't done out of necessity. If someone has to kill another person to save their life, that is done out of necessity. Shooting 10 people at a grocery store is done out of hate. So yes, no matter how this shakes out, this is a hateful crime. This is a hateful crime. According to police, what I have seen, all 10 of these people were just regular, everyday Coloradans.
They were grocery shopping.
Some were actually in line for their COVID-19 vaccine. So I think a couple of them were in line for that. And most of them, were just kind of grocery shopping. So no specific target is deemed by police in all of this. But police nonetheless did return fire. One cop actually died during this in this group of 10. So that's what we know. And when we come back, we'll talk about gun laws. We'll talk about what it's worth. We'll talk about its impact on Ohio and West Virginia. Because let's face it, guns in Ohio and West Virginia are probably higher on the political priority list than in a lot of places. And the gun ownership in this region is sky high. So we'll talk about that. Also, a little later on in the show, 3 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to Stephen Allen Adams. He's going to have the full Governor Jim Justice and all the things he said lately. Of course, continuing to follow the idea of the state income tax being reduced by 60%. We'll talk about that. Also, the opportunity for fairs and festivals to open up May 1st. So that's coming up with Steve at 3 o'clock. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls, 304-214-1600, 304-214-1600. Let's talk about the potential for new gun laws. Coming up next on The Watchdog.
Tune in to The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, weekday mornings, 7 to 10 a.m. on the Valley's favorite live and local talk radio station, The Watchdog.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them, just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Update your home's exterior with new siding and get 11% off everything at Menards. Timbercrest Premium Double 4-inch Vinyl Siding is engineered to be durable, 15% thicker, and has the look of natural cedar siding. It has a limited lifetime warranty and is available in in 9 colors. $6.79 per 12.5-foot piece after 11% off. Good through March 27th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Are you or your loved ones facing a serious legal battle? The law office of Paul Harris wants you to know you aren't alone. Do you need someone that's not afraid to go to trial and fight for your rights? Attorney Paul Harris and his team are willing to go where most firms are not. The courtroom. With a successful track record in civil litigation, criminal defense, including tax issues and healthcare fraud, Harris Law Office will fight for their clients by offering the most aggressive representation in and out of court. Call Paul Harris at Harris Law Office for a free consultation. 304-232-5300.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
The Storm Tracker 7 team is here to warn you when winter weather will affect your day.
And as we go through the overnight after our coating of snow, we'll wake up tomorrow morning with a few snow flurries.
We are also here to help you make the most of the season. Is it a good day to build a snowman? Should you take the kids sledding? Check out our app before you head out the door.
We're going to bottom out to temperatures in the upper 20s.
With meteorologists Dr. Dave Walker, Zach Petty, and me, Aaron Myler, we've got weather coverage you can count on. 7 News, working.
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
I'm Big Rick, that's Lola. This is Real Big Talk on The Watchdog, talking about gun control and the laws that President Biden he's essentially in the last couple of hours begging his colleagues to pass. 304-214-1600. We have to act, is what Joe Biden had to say. I've got a couple of quotes here. Biden asked Congress to immediately pass legislation that would close loopholes in gun background checks and ban the purchase of assault weapons. Those were in his first couple of remarks on Tuesday after the mass shooting at the grocery store in Boulder, Colorado. He said, "I don't need to wait another minute, let alone another hour, to make and take common sense steps that will save lives in the future, and to urge my colleagues in the House and Senate to act. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again," end quote. So there you have it, 304-214-1600, 304-214-1600. Go ahead, Lola.
Unfortunately, this is a story that is repeated time and time and time again. I don't want to hear any more people saying, oh, we need to pray for the... No, we don't need to pray. Praying is past the point. And this is not something new. That statement makes it sound like we need to do this now. It has been on the books for how long? And what I find really fascinating is that in Atlanta, it was 7 women, 6 Asian women, 8 people dead, and nobody's calling for gun control with that one. That was truly a hate crime.
In my opinion, I agree.
It just makes me sick. Once again, we have something like this happens. It's been, we've all been talking about it since Columbine, if not before. And nothing has been done. Every time it's, prayers for the people. No, we don't need prayers at this point. We need actual legislation. We need our politicians that are elected and paid by us to do their damn job. There's no,
You're allowed to be fired up. This is a sensitive subject, as Lola mentioned. The popular thing to do when things like this happen, and we've all seen it, we've all experienced it. I don't necessarily think we've all done it, but we've all seen it. Immediately post thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Well, again, after this long, thoughts and prayers aren't going to fix this, although your thoughts and prayers, I'm sure, are appreciated by the victims and their families. That does not repair any of these things. It does not repair any of these things. And I'm a gun owner. I carry a gun. I have no issues telling you that. But I do so in a responsible manner and a legal manner. And no, I'm not carrying an AR-15 in my cargo shorts.
That would be a trick.
They would be pretty long shorts. But I can tell you that I absolutely, positively live in zero fear that opportunity to carry a sidearm in case I would need to defend myself is going to be taken away from me. I don't feel that way at all. I don't feel that way at all. We have a call, Lola?
Yeah. It's Doug.
Hey, Doug, welcome to the show.
How are you, Rick?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Hey, good. Just going in on your talk on gun control, I guess.
Please do. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I guess my thoughts are, a lot of these things that happen are due, like you said, to mental health. And there's specific laws that says somebody that's tied in with mental health can't own a gun. I'm a proud gun owner, proud Democrat. And the way I see it, assault weapons are basically just the characteristics of that weapon, and the amount that it can hold has nothing to do with that. But you can get an extended magazine for a hunting rifle. In my opinion, to ban assault rifles because of the way people act with them is pretty much like saying take butter knives off people, because people get stabbed with those in kitchens all the time by spouses that are mad or anything else. I think that some of the trends seem to be that we watch the national news and reflect on an accident or something like this that happens, and then we jump to a conclusion. There's a lot of bad things with some of these younger teenagers that are going in that, there's chat lines and chat rooms that say, hey, go into a grocery store, see how many people you can take out, all that kind of stuff, along with some of these very gruesome video games these teenagers are raised on. And I think some of the things are we have to evaluate the problems that lead these young adults to do these kind of things, or older adults, and put a stop to them.
I'm sorry.
Blame the assault weapons.
You brought up an interesting point there, and it's one that really I hadn't thought about in this process of thinking about Atlanta last week to Boulder this week. Lola, do you remember how old, or Doug, how old the shooter was last week in Atlanta? Because he was pretty young too. We are not seeing and I don't want to say, because a lot of times shootings go without finding out who the actual shooter is, but you're right. A lot of these people that are shooting up places, multiple people, taking out multiple people, are young. And it's interesting that you said, Doug, what is the influence? That we're going to pick apart a few of the things you said here, but what is the influence of kids involving themselves in so much conversation online? Whether it's, and there are, as stupid as it sounds, we've lived through kids eating Tide Pods. So I'm not blaming kids necessarily. Not all kids are stupid kids. Not all kids are kids that would challenge someone to shoot up a grocery store. But I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all. I think there are probably a lot of kids that influence other kids. Like, hey, my dad has an AR-15. What should I do with it? Answer here. Comment here. Kids do that, and I hate to say it, and luckily it doesn't probably happen 0.1% of the time that it probably comes up online. but it probably does. I don't think there's any way that the police or anybody investigating this is going to come back and say there weren't signs. There weren't online signs, whether it was a chat group with an extremist group, whether it was just kids being, I don't know. And then again, you mentioned the video games. How much influence does that stuff really have? Because I can say to you, Doug, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 43, and I grew up playing Contra on Nintendo, on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And Contra was about two guys trying to save the planet from the vile red alien. And it had guns. And you know what? At no point in my lifetime did I ever think about going into my dad's gun cabinet, taking one, and going out and hunting down a red alien in the middle of the Mon Valley. So, yeah, I don't know how much that plays into it, but I can tell you this. We glorify guns now more than ever.
And I'll agree with you on the video games. I mean, my son's 11. My daughter's 17 now. We have always practiced good marksmanship, went to ranges and stuff. As far as my son's video games go, there's some very graphic, very real-looking images that come on those video games. To see a video game and say, man, it's back when we were in the 80s. I'm 47. It's not the same video game as me and you.
No, it's not.
As far as assault weapons, I mean, you're looking at a 223, which is a popular hunting rifle. They're not automatic; they're semi-automatic. But as fast as you can pull the trigger. But that's a very popular group across this nation, and seems to be the more popular thing today in guns is assault weapons. And women lead the charge on some of this stuff as far as, hey, that's my favorite gun to pick up. It's easy to use. It's a military-issue gun. You can add a bunch of things to it. It's very easily accessible for lights or lasers or scopes or change out of anything there. And to just say, hey, we're going to ban them, that's a hard thing for me to swallow because I did nothing wrong with my gun.
You're right.
And I'm sure a lot of other people haven't either.
No, you're absolutely right. I'll ask you this real quick, Doug, and then I'll let you go as we're pressed up against a break. As a father, do you ever or have you ever doubted the idea that your children know how to operate guns properly and know that they aren't to be touched for any other purposes other than going to a range or if absolute necessary to save their own lives?
Absolutely not. My kids know. My guns are locked. My kids know that they are lethal. And in extreme circumstances, yes, maybe you have to use them. But other than that, they're fun to go target shoot with. They're a fun, active gun, and that's what we enjoy doing.
I certainly appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you very much. Stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, you guys too.
Thanks, Doug. 304-214-1600. I think Doug brought up a lot of points, and I think that's probably, honestly, I think Doug represents most, I would say 99.99. I can't even think of someone I know that owns a gun and is absolutely an irresponsible gun owner. The things that Doug said make absolute sense. Why should he lose the opportunity to have the guns that he has because he's done nothing wrong with them? I think you're going to find that that's going to be the continuing trend. And again, I will mention, I too am a gun owner. And I don't feel like anybody's coming to take my guns. But again, I think some people also are much more enthusiastic about having semi-automatic and automatic weapons that, honestly, to me, owning a few guns is the opportunity to protect myself if ever needed. It's not, and to go to a shooting range. I enjoy a shooting range. I get an old 22. I'll go out there and try to shoot down range and have a little fun with it and stuff like that. But it's really, honestly, that is for the point of marksmanship and the enjoyment of shooting at targets. Seeing people with AR-15s, I mean, in Lola, we can, you and I have been in this studio during some of the more recent scarier times in this country. We were both in here watching the people outside of the capital of Michigan.
Yeah.
And every one of them was wearing a tactical vest and had an AR-15 slung over their shoulder. I can tell you this, as someone who feels comfortable around guns, I sure as hell wouldn't have wanted to have been there.
No, I know.
So I think there's an intimidation factor for people that are not avid gun owners, that are not avid about having AR-15s. There's an intimidation there. You see that weapon, and it is a scary-looking, large weapon.
Even if you own a gun, If you don't have your gun, aren't you intimidated?
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So,
If again,
it has nothing to do with whether you own a gun. It's whether you're packing every time you walk out of the house.
and I guess I've never found myself thinking or in the mindset of, well, if I don't have a weapon on me, then I'm going to find myself in a shootout in the middle of Main Street. You know what I mean? I guess I really, and maybe that's me. Maybe that's a naive process in my thinking is I don't ever feel like I'm going to have to use it. I don't even think of it as being there. But I think it's important to know for myself that I could defend myself or my family or whatever the situation would be if I had to. I really don't absolutely think that there is a shootout waiting in anticipation of every time you turn the corner. And I think some people do think that, which I think elevates the fear of people carrying weapons.
Because of where we live, we don't think in terms of that. But when I'm driving through Detroit to go to my brother's, I am very conscious of the fact that there are people on that corner that very well could shoot me if I stopped.
Absolutely.
And so it's living here in this area. I think we have a false sense of security. We think nothing bad can happen here. Nobody in Boulder thought anything bad could happen there.
Yeah.
So
we have a call, but we also have to go to a break.
I know. So we're going to take the call, then we're going to take our bottom of the hour break, which is going to be at our 1:45.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll take the call real quick.
This is Todd.
Hi, Todd. Welcome to the show.
I feel special. You put advertisers up for me?
And you should, Todd. You should.
I was going to say we got some all-stars today, Todd, and you're one of them. So you get the final word before the break.
Well, these are just my thoughts and opinions. Okay, I was raised around guns. Me and my brother both. We're from a military family. We learned respect for guns and all about guns from the time we were young. What I feel is this. If they go and they ban, say, AR-15 because that's what most of the weapons are being used, what they're going to do inadvertently is create more proficient school shootings because now that AR-15 is meant for long-distance shooting. It is a long-range rifle. You replace that with a shotgun and a pistol, and your body count is going to go exponentially up with the spread of a shotgun, weapons that are made for close quarters. And so, again, like I understand people are trying to solve a problem. It's not the weapons that are the problem. It is the people that are the problem. If we take away guns, it'll be stabbings. Take away knives, it'll be beatings, whatever. People are vicious creatures. We're violent, and if we have something stuck in our craw, well, by golly, somebody's going to pay for it one way or the other. And we need to look more at people and less at the weapons. Just my thoughts.
I agree with you, Todd. Thank you for the call. We're going to talk about exactly what you just mentioned there coming up in the next break. So if I hit on a nerve, please feel free to call back. But we're just up against this break. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. We're going to talk about that. We're absolutely going to talk about that. What happens if you do ban the AR-15? What happens next? We'll talk about it after this break right here on the Watchdog.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Chris Lawrence. Governor Justice says vaccinations are now open to every 16-year-old in West Virginia.
Beginning right now, if you're 16 years of age and older and you want to get vaccinated, you get into one of our clinics and we'll get it done.
Dr. Sherry Young, Chief Health Officer in Kanawha County, says that's a big step.
The fact that it is open up to more individuals is a good thing, especially as we go through this. More pharmacies are receiving vaccines, more FQHCs are receiving vaccines, or federally qualified healthcare centers. So more vaccines are becoming available.
But the only vaccine recommended for those ages 16 to 18 is Pfizer. Despite the change, priority still remains on the older population. COVID numbers looking a little better today. There are 5,526 active cases, down from Tuesday's 5,600. First drop since March 15th, and the daily positivity rate was 3.46%. There was also one new fatality. Federal prosecutors say a Morgantown man bought bear repellent in Morgantown the day before the U.S. Capitol riot in January. Metro News statewide correspondent Brad McElhaney listened in on the detention hearing for George Tanios Monday.
Prosecutors say he settled on this bear spray, but they now have the testimony of the gun shop owner as well as a receipt from 5 p.m. January 5th, the day before all of these events, and cell phone records showing a call between the two men.
U.S. Magistrate John Alloy ordered Tanios to be detained. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. The WVU women's basketball team will play Game 2 of their NCAA tournament run this afternoon in San Antonio. They'll be tipping off at 5:30 against Georgia Tech. That game to be broadcast on ESPNU. The women of the University of Charleston, meanwhile, are playing at this hour in the Division II NCAA Tournament's Elite Eight, taking on Drury. And here's a sure sign of spring baseball this afternoon, featuring WVU and Marshall. The game's set to be played at 3 this afternoon at the Kennedy Center YMCA in Huntington. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Chris Lawrence.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on The Watchdog. I'm John Thayer. The Sweet 16 is set for the NCAA men's basketball tournament that began on Saturday. Oregon State will play Loyola Chicago in the first game on CBS. Then it's Villanova and Baylor, also on CBS. In the night games on TBS, Oral Roberts will play Arkansas, and Syracuse will meet Houston. Then on Sunday, 4 more games are on schedule. On CBS, it's Creighton against Gonzaga, followed by Florida State and Michigan. Then on TBS, in the night games on Sunday, UCLA will take on Alabama, and Oregon will meet USC. Representatives of Evander Holyfield said Mike Tyson has turned down $25 million guarantee to fight Memorial Day weekend. It's the perfect time to bring out your very best, so hurry in for great deals now at the Jeep Start Something New event. I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on The Watchdog.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live?
While you handle life's questions, Merrill Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
I'm Dr. Baker, an ER physician. If you're having leg pain, swelling, or redness, but haven't talked to your doctor yet, don't wait. This could be deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot which could travel to your lungs and lead to a pulmonary embolism, which could cause chest pain or discomfort or difficulty breathing and be deadly. Your symptoms can mean something serious, so don't wait. Talk to a doctor right away, by phone, online, or in person.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer. For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I'm living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Hey, I'm going to the kitchen. Can I grab you a Coors Light?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Huh. I never knew there was a zip line in my fridge.
Hey, buddy! Yeah! You got 2 Coors Lights up there? You got it!
always brewed down to 34 degrees. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go, 2 Coors Lights.
Awesome, man. Wow, these are really cold.
That's the only way I deliver it.
Sure, I mean, you being a mountain climber and all.
Yep.
You probably need a pretty warm coat in there, huh?
Yep.
Hey, Ben!
Yeah!
Ask him if he has any nachos.
You got any nachos in there?
No.
Just icy cold Coors Light?
Yep.
That makes sense. It is the Rockies.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Listen to the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Weekday mornings 7 to 10 a.m. Only on the Watchdog. Live and local talk radio, just the way you like it.
We get it almost every night. And when that moon gets so big and bright, it's supernatural delight. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight. Everybody here is out of sight. They don't bark and they don't bite. They keep things loose, they keep things alive. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight. Dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's breathing warm and bright. It's
2:48 here at the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. This is Real Big Talk. It's available to you in a lot of different places, not only all over the radio dial, both AM and FM, but you can also find us on Facebook. You can watch the live stream of the show, comment there as well if you want to get in on any of these topics. And the hot topic right now is guns. Look, I mean, you know, we can try to avoid it, and I got a page full of happy, fun, silly, less harmful stories. But at the end of the day, right now, the hot story is gun control. We've seen in the last 2 weeks, or the last week, 2 incidents, one in Atlanta that left 8 dead, which may or may not have been, however, they're different crimes, but hateful nonetheless in both directions. But at the end of the day, guns are not responsible for those crimes. Humans are responsible for those crimes. Guns were used in those crimes, but I have never once seen a gun sitting idle kill or shoot anyone. There has to be a hand on the trigger. There has to be a finger on the trigger and a hand behind the gun. And I believe it was Todd that brought this up before we went to the break, and I think it was an excellent point. I will reiterate, I don't think anybody is coming to take the opportunity for you to own a gun away from you. Now, it's concerning, and I know people like this, and I have friends that are like this. I have friends that have arsenals. I mean, there's a difference between me being John Q. gun owner. I have 3 or 4 guns that I like to shoot. So I own them. That's it. That is not an arsenal. I know people with hundreds of guns. That's an arsenal. And why you need that, different story. But again, some of them are my friends. I have a friend that is so proficient in weapons of all sorts that when he takes me shooting, it's an adventure. And it's an enjoyable adventure. I don't feel intimidated, but I got to tell you, hey, that's a lot of money and time invested in owning guns. But the bottom line is this. I don't believe anybody is going to take your opportunity and rights to own guns away. However, if guns were taken away in these 2 situations, Atlanta and Boulder, which we're talking about today, I think it was Todd that said, well, then they'd become stabbings. Take knives away, they'd become beatings. I agree. The intention to hurt doesn't have anything to do with the weapon. The opportunity for more lives to be lost with an AR-15 is there. The opportunity to take less lives, if you make them take all the guns, and you make somebody who wants to be hateful stab someone, yeah, more people have an opportunity to get away. So are we at this point, are we counting the number of lives that are taken? Because to me, one is too many. And I think if someone has an intent to take multiple and there are no guns left and you're not allowed to get them and they're not accessible to anybody and you clean up the entire black market of selling weapons, then somebody's going to drive a car through a grocery store. Evil is evil. And to me, it just doesn't have anything to do with the
weapon.
The weapon. It has nothing, to me, it doesn't have anything to do with the weapon. And we had one of the callers talking about how, look, I've got an AR-15. And why would they take mine away? Because I haven't done anything wrong with it. I don't think they should. I can tell you this, though, for all the callers and anybody who thinks different, my opinion is stringent gun laws, to me, are fine. No, or background checks, sorry. Background checks. Stringent background checks are fine because I think I honestly think I have had to go through a couple of surgeries in my life, one of which was to remove part of my left kidney because of cancer. And if you've ever gone through anything like that, your doctor assesses how well you are processing hearing bad news. And I know people that have gone to, and I had to do this myself. I had to talk to a counselor to make sure I was mentally understanding and capable of going through this surgery because essentially it was going to, and I will say this in the most wonderful way, other than having to go to the restroom a little more often, my life hasn't changed a terrible amount. I mean, when you're missing half of a kidney, your process is a little different. You all right back there? Hey, it's honest.
Again, you caught me when I had a mouthful of water.
I didn't see you drinking back there, but yeah, but you have to get mentally assessed. Can you handle the surgery that you're about to get? That's for a surgery that I needed. So I certainly have no issue with making sure, however you do it, whether it's a more thorough background check, whether it's an opportunity to be a quick screening, whether it's a test that you have to take, whatever it is, I actually don't have any problems with that. I don't have any problems with that because I think that at some point, not all, some opportunity would be had for people to go, you know what? This person, I don't think is capable of responsibly owning that gun. And I have zero issues with that.
The sad thing is about that, and I agree with you, and I think there should be more comprehensive background checks, but I don't know that you could catch an awful lot of people with mental illness in a background check like that, because it requires then a check into everybody's medical records and perhaps police records where they were caught up in where family members had called, to have them assessed. I don't know that will catch enough. The people that are doing these things, and particularly in places like, I keep bringing up Chicago, but let's face it, Chicago has a real gun problem.
They do.
And first of all, the guns used there are not legal. They haven't been bought legally. Anybody that has had some type of mental health issues already knows that they're going to get checked. I think the most important thing to do is close the gun show loophole, because so many guns they have traced from gun shows in Virginia, and they're brought up into New York or Chicago, places like that, because you can buy a gun legally in I think it's Virginia. I don't want to slander any state. At a gun show without a background check. That is the loophole that needs to be shut down.
Yeah, I would say. And again, I would say as a general rallying cry for responsible gun owners everywhere is I don't do that. I don't have to do that. I can legally go purchase a gun. You can go to a gun shop and you have no issues legally purchasing a gun. What I will say to that is anybody who can purchase a gun legally with no problems and no issues with their background check, going to a gun show and finding a great deal on a gun you've always looked for, you don't even really have to process the idea, well, they didn't have to run it. I walked in here with 7 guns. Why do they care? And that's the problem is, and I agree that these gun shows, and I'm not knocking gun shows. I enjoy going to the gun show every once in a while. And I don't mean just rolling up the sleeves of my shirt and showing you the power. I mean an actual gun show. But if you do, you have the chance to go to the gun show and find something you want. Unfortunately, the byproduct of all that is I don't see the government actively going after illegal guns nearly as much as it feels like. Not that you can see, but feels like they're threatening law-abiding gun owners. Now, I'm not saying the government doesn't go after trying to fish out illegal guns and arms sales. I'm not saying that they don't. What I'm saying is it feels like the finger is being wagged at the solid citizen American gun owner and saying, we're going to tighten up these laws and it's going to affect you owning a gun. I don't think it is going to affect you owning a gun, but it may affect you owning certain guns. The problem is the illegal guns, and again, I don't think you're ever fixing that problem.
Well, the argument I've heard about gun shows is it's too expensive for the gun dealers to actually have somebody sitting there running the background checks, because it does take, what do they say, 2 days?
Well, actually, I mean, the last time I purchased a firearm, I did so in a store, and other than the line that there was.
Oh, and you got it that day?
Oh, I got it in 20 minutes.
Well, then, I don't know. But the argument I've heard about gun shows is that it's too expensive. It's an additional expense that the actual vendors would have to go through. And to me, that to save somebody from buying a gun that should not have one is worth the expense of a vendor to actually have the equipment there to run a background check.
I agree. And I will tell you this as we get ready to hit the top of the hour break.
Oh, yeah, we do.
I will say this. You have the opportunity to charge me $20 or $30 more to buy the firearm that I want to make sure it's purchased safely. No gun owner, no responsible, respectable gun owner is going to go, I got to go find the cheapest gun, and I'll go to the guy who isn't charging me. You'll find the gun that you want at the price that you want, and you'll pay whatever that price is because that's the gun that you want. Charge me $30 extra for the right permit.
I don't think you even have to charge that much.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The city of Boulder mourning the deaths of 10 people gunned down at a supermarket yesterday, including police officer Eric Talley. Boulder Police Chief Maris Harold says the 51-year-old taught his family CPR, and the chief recently gave his son a life-saving award.
This officer had 7 children, ages 5 to 18. I just had that officer's whole family in my office 2 weeks ago to give him an award.
The investigation intensifying. ABC's Alex Stone is in Boulder.
When he was arrested, police say in documents obtained by ABC News, a 21-year-old Ahmad Alyssa told them he was not on any drugs. They say there were no signs he was high or drunk. He had removed a tactical vest and most of his other clothes. When arrested, the documents say Alyssa asked to speak to his mother. The AR rifle used in the attack was bought by Alyssa last week. Alex Stone, ABC News, Boulder, Colorado.
President Biden at the White House earlier today urging Congress to act on gun violence measures already passed by the House. At a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing today on gun violence, witness Dr. Selwyn Rogers, a trauma chief at the University of Chicago Medical Center, called mass shootings a crisis.
We must understand this violence as a public health crisis and address it with the same urgency as COVID-19.
Republicans say they're concerned lawful gun owners will be affected by new measures. The Biden administration facing criticism for the influx of minors at the U.S.-Mexico border. ABC News obtaining footage from one facility where some 4,000 children are being housed well over the capacity. ABC's Cecilia Vega is along the southern border.
The White House says they're working as quickly as possible to move these kids into shelters and homes, calling in FEMA for help. But under fire from critics who say they didn't do enough to plan for the surge after overturning many of Trump's hardline immigration policies, the administration still refuses to call the situation a crisis.
You're listening to ABC News.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-401-6681. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-401-6681. That's 800-401-6681. 800-401-6681. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
Israelis headed to the polls today for the fourth election in 2 years, and due to the pandemic, the voting looked different.
For the first time, polling stations going up at Ben Gurion International Airport, where Israelis returning home are voting before entering quarantine. For COVID-19 patients, special booths at hospitals. The seriously ill are having boxes brought to their bedside. The election committee warning it will take longer this time to count the votes. Absentee ballots also expected to double. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Despite fewer cars on the road last year due to the pandemic, there was a rise in pedestrian fatalities.
The increase was not universal. In fact, 20 states saw their pedestrian fatality numbers decline in the first half of 2020. The big picture isn't so rosy, says Pam Shadle-Fisher of the Governor's Highway Safety Association.
Almost 3,000 pedestrians were killed nationwide in traffic crashes during that 6-month period.
One theory, more people were walking to work or for recreation during the pandemic. Drivers saw less traffic as a license to speed. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
The Army says it's revamping its fitness test. Army officials say they're trying to create a new test that's both gender and age neutral, but also one that doesn't pose a disadvantage to female or older soldiers. Army leaders say that they'll create a new tiered system that will hide the differences in fitness scores between men and women when it comes to promotions. This is ABC News.
I absolutely love my dog, but the constant shedding, not so much. But then I got a Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, and it is amazing. These super thick cloths pick up a crazy amount of hair. Just look at all that. And that was from just one swipe. And the best part? Sweeper's so much easier to maneuver than a broom or a vacuum, easily getting around chairs and under the couch. You're right. Now I can focus on you, not your shedding. Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, because shed happens.
I'm Michelle Franz in ABC News.
This is ONN. On the Ohio News Network, I'm Daniel Barnett. The governor is urging Ohioans to actively seek vaccinations when eligible as different strains of the coronavirus emerge. Laura Queso with affiliate station WKYC-TV in Cleveland reports.
Governor Mike DeWine says our neighbors in Michigan and West Virginia are seeing more cases in parts of the states.
And the variant being more contagious, we're concerned about where we are.
Just 2 weeks ago, our variant count was 32 cases. But as of today, there are 173 variant cases reported. 2.8 million Ohioans have received at least one shot, but it's a race against time.
And yesterday, DeWine announced any Ohioan 16 and older can get that vaccine if a provider's appointments are otherwise going unfilled. Richard Solomon reports finding an appointment might be easier said than done.
Dr. Mashika Roberts, the Columbus Health Commissioner, is here with those answers.
Their plan should include prioritizing where they're willing to go to get the vaccine.
Dr. Roberts says it'll make your life a lot easier if you focus on a few providers rather than the entire pot. And checking to see when available slots are open will help your chances.
Wherever you get your first dose, should be where you get your second dose. Any vaccine provider is responsible for doing your first and second dose.
Reporting in Columbus, Richard Solomon.
And I'm Daniel Barnett on the Ohio News Network.
The 2021 Honda ATV lineup is here to prove it's possible to work smarter and harder. With the power to get the job done, the technology to make it easier, and tried and tested quality to keep you moving forward, the only thing left to add is you. Then you'll understand how life is better on a Honda. Honda recommends ATVs for riders 16 years and older and recommends that all ATV riders take a training course.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
It's been a full year now since our whole world changed and Ohio's school buildings closed as the first COVID-19 cases were detected in our state. I couldn't be prouder of the work of all of Ohio's educators in that time. Teaching never stopped, learning never stopped, and our educators have never wavered in their dedication to reach and teach their students. Thank you.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local, just the way you like it. Benwood, the Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Benwood trusts the Watchdog.
My little girl hurt her foot and needed a doctor fast, but her physician wasn't available, and I wanted her seen as soon as possible. Then I remembered the Wheeling Hospital Urgent Care, right in downtown Wheeling at the Stone Center on Market Plaza. Open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, the center is ideal if you have a sudden sickness or injury. The doctors and nurses were great, and they also provided x-rays, a pharmacy, and lab draw station. No appointments needed, and convenient parking is nearby. Wheeling Hospital Urgent Care. They'll take good care of you.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday under mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures are near 68 for the daytime high. We're back to about 54 under partly cloudy through the overnight. You'll see a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Wednesday with highs in the lower 70s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. He can talk up and down Route 2 and Route 7 at the same time. Just ask him. Keeping it real for your ride home. It's Real Big Talk with Big Rick on the Watchdog.
Came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair, and I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle.
Welcome back to the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. Real Big Talk. Stephen Allen Adams going to join us here in a moment. And real quick, want to shout out to the 16 survivors in our March Madness contest to win this television presented by West Liberty University. I was just looking at it. The final 16 is up. Your bracket available to you on our Facebook page right now. You can just find the Watchdog on Facebook and find it out. I see Lisa's up there, Todd, Jeff, Renee. For me, for my liking after what I saw last night, I like Catherine Evans' chance. She has Michigan. She has Michigan.
Go, Catherine.
Yeah.
That's who I'm pulling for.
Yeah. So if you want to, if you want to find out if you're in the 16, if you haven't been following along, you can do that right now at our Facebook page.
Who has Houston?
Who has Houston? Let me see. We got Florida, Alabama, UCLA.
It's down at the bottom.
Rosemary Warmoth. Rosemary Warmoth. So,
Alrighty.
yeah, there you go. So let's get into it with our guy, Stephen Allen Adams. The people love Steve Allen Adams. He writes for the Intelligencer, and he also is the owner of a brand new bass guitar, which I think I helped talk him into over the weekend.
Yes, several people did, but it was time to upgrade to something. And since I did have some Biden bucks, I figured, well, why not? So it was time for a Fender Squire, and I'm already playing more than what I was playing on the other bass. So it's already becoming a good investment.
I tell you what, stimulate, Steve. Stimulate that economy. Stimulate it and buy a guitar. And I'm glad that you did. I'm pretty sure that's what I put on your in your comments. You buy that guitar. You buy it.
Yes, you were very supportive.
Look, if you're waiting for me to talk you out of something that's going to cost you money or something dumb, I'm the wrong guy. Like I'm all in. I tell you what, though, it looks like if we play our cards right, according to Big Jim, our annual households could save about $1,483 by switching to half or 60% savings on our income. Did you see that number?
I like that you tried to do the Geico thing there. I heard him specifically say that number yesterday. I also heard him specifically talk about how bad lobbyists are in trying to influence lawmakers to not support his bill as he's speaking to a room full of lobbyists. But, yesterday was an interesting day.
I bet it was.
At 4 o'clock, you had Governor Justice with I'm not sure what to call this, because I guess a round table of business leaders, lobbyists, some local elected officials, but it was really all about Jim that day, and it was Jim trying his best to get some business support for his tax proposals, which are now in the West Virginia legislature, especially after multiple business groups over the last week, 2 weeks, have come out against it. And again, groups that have normally been allies of the governor and still are, I would imagine, on most things. West Virginia Business and Industry Council, the Chamber of Commerce, Farm Bureau, National Federation of Independent Businesses, things like that, that basically said, look, we appreciate what you're wanting to do with trying to, cut the personal income tax by 60%, but, you're leaving some personal income taxes on sole proprietorships, LLCs, pass-throughs, things like that. You're raising taxes such as sales tax, excise taxes on various tobacco, alcohol products. The tiered severance tax is kind of controversial. We appreciate what you're trying to do, but these type of tax increases are not going to help businesses. They're going to hurt businesses. So yesterday's 4 p.m. Roundtable was meant to try to kind of get rally support from business leaders for that plan.
I mean, what are the chances? We're talking to Stephen Allen Adams, read his stuff in the Intelligencer. Steve, what are the chances that this is even, I guess, how much further can this go? I guess is the best way to phrase it, because I feel like it won't happen, but how much further could it possibly go?
I think Justice is going to continue to push it as long as the legislature is in session. And the last day of session is April 10th. Most of the heavy lifting on stuff is out of the way. In fact, House Speaker Roger Hanshaw, Republican of Clay County, had a video yesterday basically saying the only thing we're really kind of working towards right now is personal income tax reform and the budget, which is, in this state, it's legally required to be balanced, and they need to have it completed by the end of the session. They could theoretically extend session by a week. That used to happen all the time back in the day, but usually to get this thing done within the 60-day time frame that they are allotted. But now you got the House of Delegates, House Finance Committee, pushing their own bill, has a bill number, House Bill 3300, and I thought that they were just going to put their own type of bill within the governor's bill, but they literally just originated their own thing separate from the governor's tax reform bills, and it is a vastly different beast.
You said something there that kind of sparked my interest. Now, again, you're so close to these subjects, and I'm so far away from understanding things politically, but so you're saying session has in the past been extended by 7 days or a full week. I'm assuming that's a 1 work week. What are the chances that just enough things that really are meant to go nowhere come up? Because if they're essentially done now, and that's 17 days away from the time that they would close, what are the chances that they come up with enough just rhetoric and things that won't go anywhere just for the opportunity to give Jim another week to push this? Is that even a thing that could happen?
I don't think that is something that would happen, to be honest, and I'll tell you why. I think that, the legislature likes its track record of getting done within 60 days because, they get a set pay, they get per diem. If they have to go in for an extra week, that is an additional cost to the cost that normally accompanies a legislative session. So they, especially the last few years, they take pride on getting done before that way they're not costing taxpayers additional dollars. On top of that, they've got certain deadlines that are in code that they have to hit. Yesterday was the last day for the Senate to introduce bills. The House hit that deadline the week before. They got to get bills out of their committees at a certain day, which I don't have those dates in front of me. There's a day that they are supposed to make sure they have their bills passed out of each body and sent to the other one. If they don't get to that point, bill was in essence dead. So they've got a lot of things they got to do as far as their deadlines go. So I don't foresee that type of scenario happening. But what could happen is they may have to go ahead and have that extended session if they don't get this issue between Governor Justice and, in this case, the House Finance Committee on dueling tax reform bills figured out and smooth over those differences. Otherwise, they'll be working on that right up until the end of session and then trying to rush through a budget, and that doesn't work very well.
Yeah, I wondered how many things are dangling in there in session right now that really are realistically good. Obviously that you have 2 separate bills here. So do either one of them have to do anything?
No, theoretically they could absolutely just not pass anything. My prediction, and I kind of hate to predict these things because you can be wrong and anything can happen between now and April 10th, but my inclination is I don't think we will see any form of tax reform bill because I don't think the governor or, in this case, the House side can come to an agreement. I know the Senate side, Senate Republicans tend to be more on the side of Governor Justice on this. It even has the backing of former Senate President Mitch Carmichael, the new cabinet secretary for the Office of Economic Development. And then you have Bill Cole, former Senate President, former Republican from Mercer County, that was part of yesterday's 4 p.m. roundtable as well. So the Senate Republicans have some muscle on this, but I predict that they're not going to be able to come to an agreement on this.
Yeah, I can't imagine how they could. Steve, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back with more with Steve and Alan Adams. We'll get into more state business. We'll talk philosophically about what direction the Mountain State is going in. We'll get to all that and more coming up here in just a few minutes on The Watchdog.
Tune in to Marshall County's second favorite son, Donnie Gilbert, Fridays from noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Savings or a mail-in rebate. See store for details.
Wheeling Coin and Hobby on 10th Street in Wheeling next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry.
They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
Does this current crisis leave you wondering how to pay your bills? Well, a lot of people are struggling right now. I'm attorney Tom McIntyre. Call me today to schedule your telephone or video conference meeting, and I will send you a copy of my new book about bankruptcy, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Call 877-456-4155. Together, we will figure out what to do now and what to do when this is over. We will get through this together.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The timeless sounds of polka live here. Join us 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays for the Polka Showcase with Rich Biella. Sunday mornings never sounded so good.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Then we wouldn't have to wait so long. And wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong? No, it's gonna make it that much better when we can say goodnight and stay together. Wouldn't it be nice if we could wake up?
Welcome back to the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. On the phone with us is our buddy Stephen Allen Adams. He writes for the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers around the state. He's covering the session in Charleston. It's got about 17 days left, and discussing the things that could possibly come out of that. We already got to the possibility of Governor Justice's idea of eliminating 60% of the personal income tax. It seems like it's not going to necessarily go anywhere. And then just to recap, you have the what was it? The state Senate put in their own as well, Steve. Their own plan.
House Finance Committee.
Yeah, the House
Finance
Finance Committee.
And theirs is pretty interesting and but also complicated. So I'll try to simplify it the best way I can.
Well, I saw the words "wow factor" connected to the story. I saw it in Metro News. House Finance Chairman says new tax plan has wow factor, but there are complications too. And this is why I rely on you, Steve. You're the one who actually sees this stuff and probably reads it because you're that guy.
Well, yes, and I was able to take a look at some notes that made it to committee members yesterday on how this would work. The thing for people to understand the key difference between this bill and the governor's bill is the governor's bill is a one-time, at least for now, until they introduce other bills, but it'd be a one-time 60% cut the personal income tax rates. But like I said, if you have a sole proprietorship, if you're an independent contractor or things like that, it's not a good deal for you because you won't get your taxes cut. The householder plan, as I'll call it, for House Finance Committee Chair Eric Householder, Republican of Berkeley County, it doesn't raise any taxes. No taxes are raised for this, and it gives everybody a cut. Now, it takes a little bit more time. It's a little bit more of a modest plan. It cuts the personal income tax by $150 million every calendar year. So, depending on how things go, that could take 6 years. It could take longer. A lot of it's up to the discretion of the Department of Revenue. But it would give them that discretion. It would also skim a bunch of money off the top of various revenue streams, such as various other taxes, and other fees from some gaming, sports wagering, things of that nature. I won't run through the entire list, but it takes those monies and puts them in a specific fund. And once that fund every year gets to $400 million, they take $100 million, put it in the general revenue fund, and then the rest of it just remains in the fund, basically as a cushion in case there are economic downturns or things that could affect phasing out the personal income tax. But the key difference between both is one does not raise your taxes, but it phases out a little bit more slowly. The other one does raise various taxes and is a one-time gigantic 60% cut.
Well, just as John Q, not an idiot, this sounds like something that could make a lot more sense. And I've maintained through it, I liken it to the idea of raising the minimum wage to $15. For the people that are opposed to it, is a huge shock to the system. I take Pennsylvania, for example, whose minimum wage is $7.25. It would more than double it. So there's so many people that are adamantly against the idea in Pennsylvania going, we can't do that. Well, I think it's because it's such a shock to the system. The House Finance, the idea of that bill seems to be a lot more logical, and you could assess it year over. It takes enough time. It takes as long as it takes. It's not initially a shock to the system. It just takes as long as it takes, but essentially could get you to the same place that justice wants to go, just not in the amount of time that justice wants to get there.
Well, that's right. And not only that, but it also gives lawmakers a chance every year to look at it and decide, well, maybe we need to halt this where it's at now, because it's not having the effect. And, of course, the effect ultimately is to bring people back to the state, bring businesses to the state that are going to see West Virginia as a more appealing place to sit down and start a business or raise a family or retire or things of that nature. That's the same goal of justices. Justices, to his credit, and it is one of the nice things about the governor, but it's also one of the things where you kind of have to shake your head, is he's a daydream believer, that Governor Justice, and he believes his plan, not only is it net positive, not only will it put, X amount of dollars back in your pocket, even with the tax increases, but he believes that there are U-Hauls literally sitting across all of West Virginia's borders waiting for this bill to get passed and be implemented so they could rev their engines and start driving across the bridges and fording the rivers to West Virginia. And while I do think that people do judge state tax structure to some extent when they move around, I don't think you're going to reverse 50 years of population loss in 3 years with the governor's plan. But you are going to get people that are going to find West Virginia more appealing, and so that's the goal of both plans.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think in Justice's haste, he wants to accomplish this before he is done in office, because I think ultimately, long-term, it benefits him greatly. I think I think this idea, whatever plan it is, ultimately could benefit West Virginia in some of those ways. I don't have a task force set up, but I had noticed as I come across the border of Pennsylvania, West Virginia every day, there are no U-Hauls sitting at the Washington County line trying to jam their way into Ohio County. I just don't see this massive line of people lining up to do this, because it's the only incentive to pack up and move. I think sometimes when I listen to him talk about this, and I have watched quite a bit of it, not nearly what you have or the knowledge you have, or started the fights that you have, as you've done so eloquently lately, Steve, getting the governor all fired up. But I think it's going to take more than just this. I think he doesn't see the forest through the trees. If you're going to get people to move here, I think that's step one of probably at least 4 or 5 other steps that you're going to need to take to really make this an appealing place for someone to say that lives in Texas or Nevada, someone that lives in Maine, to pack up and move here. I mean, there's got to be jobs for them to do if they move here.
Well, that's exactly it, too. So it's sort of a chicken V8 sort of situation, which came first. There's no easy answers for any of that. There's a lot of things that go into business recruitment. A lot of times, tax breaks, memorandums of understanding that aren't even made public, so you don't even know what the terms even were. The counties and the state gave to some of these businesses, which can sometimes be problematic with, say, they were supposed to, they promised X number of jobs, and they never actually delivered on those jobs, but yet they still got, X amount of a tax break or B&O tax break or what they call sometimes payment in lieu of taxes. There's a lot of factors that go into it. Now, over the years, and probably to some extent the justice's credit and even the legislature's credit, the state has become a little more appealing to businesses. And you see that all the time when you have, like, Virgin Hyperloop willing to set up in the state. You've got expansions. Hino's done very well. Hino Motors from our neck of the woods.
Yeah, from the Parkersburg neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's all sorts of things you can point to. But it's always a slow process. And it's multifaceted because tourism plays a big part of that. How you market the state plays a big part of that. And we talk a lot about tourism. We've even elevated tourism to a cabinet-level position. Though, as near as I can tell, we're not funding tourism marketing any more than what we were. So, we've still got some work to do.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about with all of this is a conversation we had a few months ago when they distributed 79 out-of-state out of 100 licenses to set up shop and sell legalized marijuana here. To me, these two things, it's like, stay in this state and tell your friends to move here too, but also we'll bring in more people from out of state and won't help the people that are already here. Like, to me, as someone who has certainly still own property in West Virginia, and certainly paid a lot of taxes to this state and love it and choose to spend a lot of my time and money here, to me it seems kind of like a slap in the face. Like, you're more worried about a guy or a family or a woman that lives in Kansas and attracting them to move here than you are about the people who are already here and trying to reinvest in their state. Like, to me, that conversation that you and I had, I think, can be brought up till the end of time based on the idea that I feel like this is so much more focused on people coming here that maybe aren't from here, have never lived here before, have a new interest in looking to see what this state has. And to me, it's a slap in the face of the people that are still here. Like, it seems to me like the priority isn't put the people that are in West Virginia before the idea of people that we want to get to move to West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not only just about getting people new to West Virginia, it's about getting people to stay in West Virginia. Of course, you certainly have been here for a long time. I grew up I don't want to say grew up in California. I was born in California, but I've lived in West Virginia 38 of my nearly 39 years of life, and haven't left here. But a lot of people in our generation have left the state, certainly to go find better careers, or in some cases they don't like the political climate in West Virginia. It's a multitude of factors. Nothing I can tell you about the political climate, how to change that, but you can't change things unless you're peer. And so people ought to consider staying versus going. But, these factors and these incentives, all work in different ways, and that's what the legislative session is all about, for those 60 days, is a lot of times trying to pass bills that sometimes just to placate the people that are already here, but sometimes to get people to come here, such as, broadband expansion reform and things of that nature. Some of these education bills theoretically are meant to make the state more friendly to people that might want to have access to more educational options, which we might have more of, once all those bills are signed. So we'll just have to see what happens, but it's a complicated issue trying trying to do all that.
Boy, I got to tell you, you said, and this is certainly focused on the Wheeling area, you want educational options. Right now, the hot story here in Wheeling is about Bluefield State and them wanting to open up a campus here in the Wheeling area, and other higher education facilities are not happy. Boy, there's been some brawling over this. I mean, we're talking harsh words, because we want to offer an opportunity for people to get more education here in Wheeling. Education is tough for the state of West Virginia, and I don't say it just especially because I know a lot of teachers. I know we both know a lot of teachers, high school level, but really there's not a ton of educational choices in this state. To me, I think that's one of the factors that maybe prevent people from really looking to move here. You have a really big one, and then you certainly have a very good one in Huntington that is not nearly as big, and then you have a lot of small colleges. There really isn't that. I mean, you look at just some of the other teams. I'm just using strictly as teams that the WVU plays. You go to Iowa, which certainly is not an overly populated state, but you have Iowa, Iowa State, and you have a bunch of other universities. I think the education opportunities in West Virginia probably stop a lot of people from coming here too.
Yeah, I think to some extent you're right about that. You know, with only having WVU and Marshall as the Division I schools. So there have been studies that have said, you know, with the number of smaller Division II schools that we have, you know, per capita, we actually have more higher education institutions than we actually really need.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an old one that came out 5 or 6 years ago, but it's been studied before, and they've thought about consolidating or closing some of those schools. It's kind of interesting that you brought up that issue with Bluefield State College, because a few years ago, Bluefield State College would have been one of the ones that probably would have been on the chopping block, but it's really kind of turned around down there, and with Moundsville native Rob Capehart running the shop down there, it's done pretty well, but, you know, of course, now he's, as you said, has tried to set back up in the Ohio Valley, try to meet specific needs for some programs, accredited programs that the other schools don't currently offer at this time. But obviously they're upset. Perhaps there's a way for them to all work together. After all, Bluefield State College is a historically black college and university, so it would probably be a pretty good thing for them all to kind of work together versus fight at loggerheads, because that could also benefit their students as well if they had some sort of reciprocity there. But boy, that is a dramatic situation that I'm glad that I don't have to try to figure out.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a hot one up here. Steve, thanks so much for your time. Read Stephen Allen Adams' stuff in the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers around the state. I appreciate it, pal. And hang in there. Only 17 more days to go. Are you going to take a vacation when the session is over?
Oh, for sure. Going to take my annual every May, usually second week of May, Mother's Day weekend for 7 to 10 days. I go to Kissimmee, Florida, and we just hit the beaches.
Well, good. I know you're looking forward to that, but we got a lot of conversations before you get there, pal. Thanks, and have a great rest of your week.
You too, brother.
All right, Stephen Allen Adams, read him in the Intelligencer, and we'll be back with more on the Watchdog.
The Mountaineer women will try to shoot their way into the Sweet 16 tonight. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up on today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger.
Did you know that 1 in 8 Americans struggle with hunger? Yet more than 40% of the food we produce is thrown out. At Kroger, we know we can do something about this. We're donating more food to local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America. And we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone, and we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app. where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales. Plus, rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
The Mountaineer women's basketball team will try to shoot its way into the Sweet 16 later today as it takes on Georgia Tech. WVU enters as the number 4 seed. Georgia Tech is the number 5 seed. Tip-off tonight is set for 5:30. Dan Zangrilli will have the call. West Virginia enters the game at 22-6 overall. Georgia Tech is 16-8. Georgia Tech advanced with an overtime victory in the opening round, 54-52 over the number 12 seed, Stephen F. Austin, while West Virginia had an easier time of it, rolling over Lehigh. By the way, in that game, the victory over Lehigh, WVU's Kaiser Gondrazek scored a team-best 26 points and, in the process, became the 37th Mountaineer to ever score 1,000 points in a career. So we'll see if they can advance on tonight. Again, tip-off is set for 5:30, WVU and Georgia Tech. Final numbers are in on the men's side as far as WVU is concerned in the Big 12 Conference. And we look at it, and it shows that Deuce McBride, the sophomore, finished 5th in the Big 12 in scoring this season. Derek Culver was the number 1 rebounder. Culver also finished 5th best in the league in field goal percentage, and McBride was number 2 in assists overall and number 1 in assists to turnover margin. Taz Sherman led the league in free throw percentage, making 87% of his attempts. Sean McNeil finished 5th in three-pointers made with 69. That is today's Mountaineer Report. It's brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
This is your VSIN Action Update on the Watchdog. This Action Update brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts, your professional parts people. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
NCAA Tournament Futures odds to win the Midwest region. Houston, the favorite, at plus 110. Loyola Chicago, plus 150. While in the South, Baylor, the favorite there. The top seed Bears, minus 170. Arkansas, plus 250. Villanova, plus 450. NIT games Thursday, Colorado State and NC State of Pick'em with an over-under of 146. Memphis and Boise State Tigers favored by 4.5, over-under 142.5. Louisiana Tech and Western Kentucky a Pick'em with an over-under of 137.5. With your VSIN Action Update, I'm Tony Dozeri on the Watchdog.
It's tournament time, and with so many games going on, who wants to bet just one? That's why you'll love betting the parlays on FanDuel Sportsbook. Combine bets from different games for an even bigger win. And guess what? FanDuel wants to help you if your parlay doesn't go as planned. They'll give you up to $25 back in site credit if your parlay of 3 legs or more falls 1 leg short. That's 1 parlay per day, each day of the tournament, for new and existing users. And that's part of why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook app. They're always hooking us up. Easy to use, lots of bet options, and when you win, you get paid very quickly. Download FanDuel Sportsbook right now, use my name Monroe in the promo code box, and you'll be ready to roll. You must be 21 or older, physically present in West Virginia or Pennsylvania. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. The maximum refund is $25. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.com.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott DeMauro.
It's been a full year now since our whole world changed and Ohio's school buildings closed as the first COVID-19 cases were detected in our state. I couldn't be prouder of the work of all of Ohio's educators in that time. Teaching never stopped, learning never stopped, and our educators have never wavered in their dedication to reach and teach their students. Thank you.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
The 2021 Honda ATV lineup is here to prove it's possible to work smarter and harder. With the power to get the job done, the technology to make it easier, and tried and tested quality to keep you moving forward, the only thing left to add is you. Then you'll understand how life is better on a Honda. Honda recommends ATVs for riders 16 years and older and recommends that all ATV riders take a training course.
Hey man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing.
With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice-cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Wheeling Coin and Hobby on 10th Street in Wheeling, next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling, wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry. They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
Listen to the Bill DeFabio Variety Show with Bill DeFabio and Lola Miller. Weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
You're listening to The Watchdog. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. Real Big Talk continues. One of the things we just talked to Stephen Allen Adams from The Intelligencer, and he's a guy I talk to about anything that has to go on with the state. He's super knowledgeable of it. And I saw this and I thought, well, we had, a lot of things to talk about, certainly with the idea of the tax cut. But I saw this story and I thought, maybe this is a direction that West Virginia can go in. And then I started to thinking, I read a story the other day that said that Bill Gates, now I know that sets everybody into a tailspin because Bill Gates is a very controversial person lately. If people think he's trying to put microchips in you and all that kind of stuff, which I think is absolutely crazy. But he owns more farmland in America than anyone else. Mm-hmm. Bill Gates owns a lot of land. And then I started to think about this. I wonder if this is the plan for Bill Gates. But right now, this is actually happening. There's indoor farms popping up.
Yep.
And this one the story is on CBSNews.com. It's called App Harvest. It's in Moorhead, Kentucky, which is essentially southwestern West Virginia.
It's Appalachia.
Yeah, it is. It's straight up Appalachia. And that's why it's called App Harvest. The idea is the play on words, APP, Appalachia, and download an app. What this guy's doing is pretty incredible. His name's Jonathan Webb, and he used to build solar energy projects for the government. So he gets this education, obviously. Then he goes to work for the government and sees how he's building these solar energy projects and gets an idea of how can I do this in Appalachia? How can I make something out of this? And he turns a greenhouse, which is the size of 58 football fields. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of space. It's a lot of space. Now, truthful, many farms are larger than that. It's an immense amount of space, but there are farms that are just miles. There's a lot of farms out there that are just enormous. But this is an indoor farm. So no crops essentially are lost to bad weather, pesticides, animals, all the types of things. It's a controlled environment farm. And what he's saying here is this could essentially become the area in which most people in this region, or even the entire country, about 70% of it he's estimating, could get their vegetables within one day. Said a lot of the vegetables you get are from Mexico, and it takes a while to get to your store. He said we can hit about 70% of America within one day. And this is just the beginning. He thinks in a few decades, this is going to be how most of America gets their vegetables from indoor farms in Appalachia. And you know what? I don't know that he's wrong. And what an opportunity to get on that bandwagon now for a state like West Virginia who's looking to bring in more people, new jobs, giving tax breaks and tax cuts, save you on your income tax. And one thing we got is, now granted it is a difficult terrain in a lot of parts of West Virginia, but space we have. We have plenty of space. And since you're not depending on the weather to grow these vegetables, they can be grown all year round indoors. It takes a hell of an investment, I'm sure, to build a greenhouse that's essentially 58 football fields long. But once you do it, you don't, there's so much to gain and not really much to lose. I mean, yeah, you may have to replace panels. I'm trying to think of the things that could go wrong. And again, what the hell do I know? But this to me seems like a great opportunity for West Virginia.
Yes, and I don't know why. Well, I think a lot of people are going to jump on this bandwagon because of climate change, which I know a lot of people don't believe in. Droughts are happening in places that grow traditional vegetables, like Mexico. All he's doing there now are tomatoes, but any vine grown vegetable can be done there. Berries, peppers, cucumbers, those kind of things. And it's all hydroponic. They collect the rainwater on the top of this and have it in a huge pool. Water is never wasted because it's doled out as it's needed inside. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I think it's the way that farming is going to go. Now, I don't know that you can ever replace the huge wheat fields out in the middle of the country, but anybody, well, we wouldn't know, but the Dust Bowl, which is, was a significant disaster in American history, could be avoided by that, so I think it's brilliant. And he said, the world, I think it's the World Health, United Nations. In another 30 years, the population of the earth is going to explode, and there's going to be huge problems with drought and starvation and that kind of thing. So anything like this that can be a real controlled environment can help feed the whole world in a decade or so.
Yeah, it really is an amazing thing. From 2001 to 2016, this is a staggering statistic if you think about it. The U.S. lost 11 million acres of farmland, mostly to development. I'm not going to lie. My house sits in the back of where a farm still sits, but half of that farm got sold as a development. I mean, I'm not bragging about that. I hate that, but more houses were needed. I mean, that's just the way it's going.
Yeah.
But there's still a big, beautiful farm behind my house. And I don't know how much it operates. I don't know much about it. I can tell you that it's pretty to look at, and there are horses. That's my extent of telling you what the space is used for. But that is really a staggering number. 11 million acres in 15 years of farmland lost. And a lot of that farmland, I hate to say this because it's true, a lot of that farmland was lost at auction because farmers couldn't make ends meet.
That's right.
And so you have families, generations of families, operating on farmlands that essentially they can no longer operate due to financial reasons, and it's getting bought up by someone like Bill Gates. I'm not trying to villainize the guy for buying property. Property is the one thing they will never make more of. I mean, it's a good, solid investment, so I'm not villainizing for doing it. But if Bill Gates or someone of a massive wealth can scoop up acres and acres and acres and acres at a reasonable price, well, that's why they do it. And I mean, Bill Gates is someone who could develop, and now I'm not trying to make him a hero either, but he is someone who could develop something like this and easily put in the financial backing to make this happen. This guy that we're talking about who actually has the one in Moorhead, Kentucky, the indoor farm, he's actually backed by Martha Stewart. So
Martha, yeah. I love it. He sent the tomatoes to Martha, and he thought, well, if I get the seal of approval from Martha that they're good tomatoes, then we've got a real product on our hands. Martha told him they were really, really good. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you have such a great knowledge of this, Lola, because I think the thing is amazing. I think the whole idea of it's amazing, and I think West Virginia could greatly benefit from it. And honestly, with other than terrain issues, I don't see why West Virginia couldn't jump into this. I mean, in Buffalo, West Virginia, there is a Toyota plant. And there is some flat land in Buffalo, and they chose to build a Toyota plant there. And most of the people in Buffalo, West Virginia, work at that Toyota plant. I've been there several times. But my goodness, the opportunity for so many people to move to this state and work in what will be, and I'm 1,000% on board with this, what will be a booming indoor farming population and just an absolute boom to the economy. Start now. Absolutely start now. Get on the ground floor of this. Well, hell, we may have missed the ground floor of it, but it is pretty amazing. App Harvest plans to build at least a dozen of these indoor grow facilities. They use all the rainwater, as Lola mentioned, collected in the massive roof and stored in a pond the size of 70 Olympic swimming pools, and the water is delivered to plants in precise amounts so it isn't wasted. You want to talk about using the earth in the best ways possible? My goodness. I don't know how you figure this out. Again, I'm not a smart enough person to know how this happens, but I think it's a tremendous opportunity for the state of West Virginia.
See, in a smaller scale, that's how they grow weed out in Colorado. Everything is hydroponic. It's all done inside greenhouses, just like that. And it's all scientifically monitored with sunlight and grow lights, of course, and water and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's the new wave of the future.
It's pretty amazing. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll get into our last hour of the show, get into some other topics, and take your phone calls as well, 304-214-1600. This is The Watchdog.
Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Biden in Ohio this hour highlighting his COVID-19 rescue plan in Cleveland and marking 11 years since the Affordable Care Act was signed into law. Earlier, the president calling on Congress to pass legislation to curb gun violence following 2 mass shootings this week.
President Biden says he wants to be clear. Congress needs to enact laws to curb gun violence. For the second time this week, Mr. Biden, speaking at the White House, offering condolences to families after a gunman killed 10 people in a supermarket in Boulder, Colorado. The president says he wants to see a ban on assault rifles, among other initiatives.
The United States Senate, I hope some are listening, should immediately pass
The two House-passed bills that close loopholes in the background check system.
Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Washington.
In Boulder, we're learning more about the suspected gunman in yesterday's grocery store mass shooting.
In a police arrest affidavit for Ahmad Alyssa obtained by ABC News, police say witnesses told them Alyssa shot an elderly man at the King Soopers, walked up and stood over him, shooting him multiple times. And Alyssa was wearing a green tactical vest. When police made contact with him, he had removed most of his clothes, and that Alyssa asked to speak to his mother. They say there were no signs he was drunk or high on drugs. Investigators determining Alyssa bought the Ruger AR rifle last week. A family member told them he was seen playing with a gun that looked like a machine gun about 2 days ago. Alex Stone, ABC News, Boulder, Colorado.
AstraZeneca signaled it will submit its COVID-19 vaccine next month to the FDA for emergency use, but the National Institutes of Health released a statement saying they're concerned some of the efficacy data may be outdated and asked for clarification. And in Israel, the polls are closing on the fourth election in 2 years to decide Israel's next leader. Due to the pandemic, there are reports turnout is lower than in previous years, and officials say it could take longer to tally results due to a rise in absentee ballots. You're listening to ABC News.
Hey, James, that order just doubled. We gotta move fast here.
Indeed, knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Somebody pick up that phone.
Like at Luca's Gourmet Frozen Pizza Company. To operate at scale, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Most people know that Mr. Clean Magic Eraser removes crayon and scuff marks from walls, but did you know it even cleans tough kitchen and bathroom messes that are sometimes tough to tackle? Just wet, squeeze, and erase gray soap scum on your bathtub. Erase cloudy hard water spots in your shower. Erase burnt-on stovetop messes. So for all your tough kitchen and bathroom messes, try Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Health officials in the U.S. warning Americans that easing restrictions too soon could risk a new surge in COVID-19 cases. ABC's Victor Oquindo is in Miami Beach, Florida.
The director of the CDC is urging Americans to hold off on travel for just a little bit longer, saying that the end is in sight if people can just follow the rules. But for weeks now, here on Miami Beach, these large crowds have been doing the exact opposite.
Jury selection underway in the case of two businessmen charged with tricking banks to help with marijuana sales. Here's ABC's Aaron Katersky.
The two defendants, Ruben Wygand and Ray Akavan, are on trial for disguising $150 million worth of marijuana transactions as payments to fake merchants and businesses they created. The sales were legal under state laws, but since marijuana remains illegal under federal law, many banks will not process the payments. The transactions in this case were made through one of the country's largest on-demand marijuana marketplaces. Ease Technologies was not charged and cooperated with the investigation.
Military rulers in Myanmar say restrictions on the internet will remain in place because they say violence around the country is being provoked online. A military spokesman says while reporting on demonstrations is allowed, leading them is a crime. Protests have been taking place since February 1st. That's when the military ousted the elected leadership. This is ABC News.
What's in store right now at your local Staples?
Your one-stop shop for shipping solutions.
Staples has everything your business needs to ship, like packing materials, mailers, and UPS shipping services.
And now, get 20% off UPS Express shipping services at Staples. Plus, buy two, get one free on decorative shipping supplies.
Staples can even help you customize your shipping materials to create a memorable unboxing experience for customers.
Staples, your total shipping solution.
In-store only, ends 4/3/21. Exclusions apply while supplies last.
I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
This is ONN. On the Ohio News Network, I'm Daniel Barnett. The governor is urging Ohioans to actively seek vaccinations when eligible as different strains of the coronavirus emerge. Laura Queso with affiliate station WKYC-TV in Cleveland reports.
Governor Mike DeWine says our neighbors in Michigan and West Virginia are seeing more cases in parts of the states.
And the variant being more contagious
we're concerned about where we are.
Just 2 weeks ago, our variant count was 32 cases. But as of today, there are 173 variant cases reported. 2.8 million Ohioans have received at least one shot, but it's a race against time.
And yesterday, DeWine announced any Ohioan 16 and older can get that vaccine if a provider's appointments are otherwise going unfilled. Richard Solomon reports finding an appointment might be easier said than done.
Dr. Mashika Roberts, the Columbus Health Commissioner, is here with those answers.
Their plan should include prioritizing where they're willing to go to get the vaccine.
Dr. Roberts says it'll make your life a lot easier if you focus on a few providers rather than the entire pot. And checking to see when available slots are open will help your chances.
Wherever you get your first dose should be where you get your second dose. Any vaccine provider is responsible for doing your first and second dose.
Reporting in Columbus, Richard Solomon.
And I'm Daniel Barnett on the Ohio News Network.
The 2021 Honda ATV lineup is here to prove it's possible to work smarter and harder. With the power to get the job done, the technology to make it easier, and tried and tested quality to keep you moving forward, the only thing left to add is you. Then you'll understand how life is better on a Honda. Honda recommends ATVs for riders 16 years and older and recommends that all ATV riders take a training course.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
It's been a full year now since our whole world changed and Ohio's school buildings closed as the first COVID-19 cases were detected in our state. I couldn't be prouder of the work of all of Ohio's educators in that time. Teaching never stopped, learning never stopped, and our educators have never wavered in their dedication to reach and teach their students. Thank you.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local, just the way you like it.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday under mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures are near 68 for the daytime high. We're back to about 54 under partly cloudy through the overnight. You'll see a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Wednesday, with highs in the lower 70s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. Keeping it real for the right, keeping it real for the left. 100% real talk is right here. Real Big Talk continues now on the Watchdog. Here's Big Rick.
Thank you. Don't mention it. Nice crowd, eh? Right. Last tune. Coming!
Welcome back to the Watchdog. It's 410. That's Lola. I'm Rick. It's Real Big Talk. Well, have we ever figured out what studio ever meant?
No.
I mean, Phil Collins, a hit maker. Phil Collins also currently looking for some of his stuff because his wife got mad, finally got kicked out of the house, and she sold a bunch of his stuff, including a couple of gold records. I think one of them was from some work he did with Paul McCartney. That one probably can't be replaced. I mean, you want to talk about just straight gold. Work with Paul McCartney, and that one I think has been released out into the world by his very angry ex-wife. Poor Phil Collins.
All right. You want to know what it means?
Yeah, I do.
According to Phil Collins, when he was on VH1's Storytellers, Sussudio is an imaginary girl's name. The song is about having a crush on someone when you're young. He used Sussudio as a name to encompass any girl.
Oh, well, there you go. Show's over. I learned something. Show's over.
Okay.
I didn't know that. I'm glad you looked it up. Next time I hear that, I'll go, you know what? I was today years old when I found out what Sussudio meant. This is a sensitive subject we're going to talk about here, so feel free to say or not say whatever you want, but I feel like it's one of the biggest news stories of the day, and that's what this show is about. It's about news stories, about topics of the day, and it's certainly about breaking news and all those types of things, and hopefully some of the conversations we had, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, anybody that's been involved, we do appreciate, and you can get involved in this one too. 304-214-1600, 304-214-1600. Evanston, Illinois, yesterday, became the first U.S. city to make reparations available to its black residents for past discrimination and the lingering effects of slavery. So this is the first U.S. city to do this. It's in Illinois. This is a conversation that has been had many times over in the past, but certainly has gained momentum in the last year and now has its first opportunity for its black residents to receive reparations for discrimination and the lingering effects of slavery. This fires up everyone in one way or another. Did you want to say something? I'm going to leave it to you for whatever you want to say. Well, no, I mean just I don't want it to feel forced because I know it's a weird. It's a subject that's weird to talk about.
I heard it discussed this morning, and some people are feeling that it is a very good first step forward. What they are actually planning on doing is they have set aside, for the lack of a better word, a trust.
Yeah, it's a $400K, I guess.
And it's not a direct payment to anyone. It is going to be something that will help people buy a home, establish a business, that kind of thing, but it's not a direct payment, which the proponents of this feel that it is a good step forward to allowing people of color to be able to, for the lack of a better term, realize the American dream. That if cash payments are paid, people are afraid that it would be spent unwisely. This way, it is it's an economic development tool that will help people to rise up from the circumstances in which they're living. Truthfully, I think it's a good idea. I don't know that cash in hand to some people is a good idea. The same as the stimulus plan.
That's kind of where I was going to go with it, and you explained it pretty much to a T.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Chicago Suburban City Council voted 8-1 to distribute $400,000 to eligible black households. Each qualifying household would receive $25,000 for home repairs or down payments on property. That could be a home, it could be a business. The program is being funded through donations of a revenue tax of 3% on the sale of recreational marijuana, and the city has pledged to distribute $10 million over 10 years. Here's the fine print here. Qualifying residents must either have lived in or been a direct descendant of a black person who lived in Evanston between 1919 to 1969, who suffered discrimination in housing because of city ordinances, policies, or practices. So Lola, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed how that was described.
When you look at, I don't know how many people are familiar with redlining, but that was a way of the government and banks, in particular banks, to discriminate against people of color, but even more so economic reasons, where they would take a community and they would red line all around the community and say, this is the area that we're not going to necessarily make home loans available. And in Evanston, they actually, when you take Chicago and you split it in half and you flip it over, the direct distance between north and south, it's equal. They're almost mirror images of each other. Evanston is not, well, poverty, I guess you could say.
It is. It's an under economically developed area.
And then when you look at the flip side, it is an up and coming upper middle class neighborhood. And so they're trying to get people from each neighborhood to get together and actually make some real changes using their relationship. And, so it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, it does have some interesting points. I think we have a caller.
Yeah, it's Dan.
Hey, Dan, what's on your mind?
I got two dogs in this fight, okay?
All right.
My first dog is being, Egypt is on the continent of Africa, okay? And we used our Jewish slaves to build the pyramids, okay? And second thing would be reparations have already... Jews that were killed in the Holocaust, they were German descent, and they had life insurance policies. And after they had passed away, nobody had kept records of what they did until the German government came forward and said, hey, we have millions of Jews that were slaughtered were killed by Hitler, and we need to make it, right with the people and give them their insurance money. And some people, even though they weren't actually in the Holocaust, were descendants of them, have been getting like millions of dollars because, there was billions of dollars in unclaimed money for people that were killed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to comment on that because I'm not. I really don't have the knowledge of it. I appreciate you sharing the story with us. To go deeply into it, I probably would go down a path that I don't know enough about to go down.
But I also just saw an article on a gentleman that filed a federal lawsuit against a major university because he was refused to be given the African American scholarship because he was a Caucasian. Well, South Africa is part of Africa too, and it was an African American scholarship.
No, I'll definitely look that up. I will look that up, Dan. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Yeah, I will give that a look and see what it was. I know when he mentioned university, I was going to bring up Georgetown University, which has kind of been involved in the idea of reparations as well. And there have been other places, but really, the most, I guess, telling sign of this, because when I read this story, I had to read through the whole story. And so I read you the first part of the story, and Lola explained the first part of the story, and I thought to myself, would I take that, look, everybody who got a stimulus package took it. Mm-hmm. Nobody that I know returned the money. Whether you were in favor of it coming to you or that you were just absolutely against the idea of another stimulus, if you got it, you're spending it, it's in your bank account, you've spent it already, whatever. I have zero issue with the opportunity for someone who can get these reparations. Now, I'm not saying I 100% agree with the idea of handing people money because they are descendants of people that were made to be slaves. I'm 1,000% actually not in favor of that. What I did was when I read the whole article, because my mind starts the second I read the first word. I'm like, okay, I start forming my opinion and how I want to talk about this. When I got halfway through the story, I thought to myself, well, is this insulting? Because it's like, well, here, you have to prove this, which I think proof is good. I mean, don't get me wrong. But is this saying to them, well, maybe you don't know how to
handle your money.
Yeah. And so I said, well, is that an insulting way? And I thought, well, who? Because it was an 8-1 vote. And I thought that the interesting sign was the one person who actually was against it had the same initial thought I did.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was not that she wasn't a proponent of making this happen. It was more of I just want to make sure this is the proper way to do it. I hate to break it to everybody that's mad about this. And yeah, you know what? I have hopefully in my life, and if I ever had, I would have publicly and personally apologized to it. I have never in my life intentionally went out of my way to harm, I think, anybody, let alone anybody of color just because they were of a different color of mine. So do I feel like I would owe somebody money because of that? No, I don't. And I think that's the way a lot of people feel about it. But what Lola said makes the most sense. Do you realize this is called one thing? It's called reparations, and that triggers people. But it's an economic redevelopment opportunity for a city that has obviously copped to the fact that years ago, it was a place that black people couldn't move forward.
Yeah,
that's
right.
the difference. That's the difference. If you get mad about the idea of going, well, I don't owe anybody anything because I didn't do anything to anybody, I'm on your side. I agree with you. Should you have to open your wallet and say, hey, sorry about what could have happened to the people in the past, here's the $25 in my wallet? No. The opportunity to develop areas that never got developed because they were predominantly black, who has a problem with that? Who has a problem with an area hitting an economic boom because of reinvestment back into its community? The reason this community needs to be reinvested in was because it was never allowed to grow in the first place. That I got no issues with across the board.
See, I think that the trigger point is the word reparations.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
so many years, forever, we have been talking about should people that were descendants of slaves be paid for what they're owed because their ancestors came here as a slave. So by tacking that word onto it, without the explanation of reparations for what, is what's going to be the sticking point with all of this. I don't know that you can rename it anything else, but there certainly needs to be a further explanation of what they are talking about. Because, this is about economic development. This is about redlining. And more cities really should get on board with this because there are so many areas and cities that were redlined and people could not progress from there. And that is just, yes, slavery was wrong. But this is something else that will allow whole neighborhoods, whole regions to be able to really expand their economic development.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I don't know how anybody could be mad about that. I in my own life, real quick, as we get ready to go to the break, I can tell you this. In Homestead, Pennsylvania, was a steel mill my whole life. It was a dark, dirty, dingy steel mill. And when it closed, a a really large number of black people ended up living in Homestead, Pennsylvania. Well, I got to tell you, the economic boom that Homestead is feeling now, because it has an entire strip mall, it has movie theaters and tons of restaurants and things like that. They redeveloped that area, and you can call it whatever you want, but redevelopment is a good thing, especially because the property values for a lot of people who bought homes there when they were very low priced now are hitting a boom because people want to live so close to the entertainment district. That actually helps, but redevelopment and economic opportunities to redevelop underdeveloped areas are always going to be a positive thing to me.
Only if the people that were more or less forced to live in that area are the ones that are benefiting from it. This regentrification of areas is certainly not helping the residents that used to live there.
Yeah, it pushes a lot of people out, it does.
Because that's just your yuppies, for the lack of a better term. People moving in, and yes, good, you're regentrifying, but are you taking into account the people that live there and tried to prosper in the meantime? And that does drive me, because then, yeah, property values go up, but does that mean the people that have always called that traditionally home, that was their neighborhood, that they can afford then to live there? Absolutely not.
No, good point. Absolutely good point. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We'll take more phone calls, get into a few more topics as we enter the final half hour of the program here on The Watchdog.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Jeff Jenkins. Those as young as 16 are now being vaccinated for COVID-19 in the Mountain State. Governor Jim Justice opened it up yesterday. Not a bad idea, says Kanawha Charleston Health Department Director Dr. Sherry Young.
The fact that it is open up to more individuals is a good thing, especially as we go through this. More pharmacies are receiving vaccines, more FQHCs are receiving vaccines, or federally qualified healthcare centers. So more vaccines are becoming available.
We all talk of March Madness at this time of year, but what about Math Madness? That's what's happening during competition this week at Buffalo Elementary School in Logan County. In the finals of a nationwide competition being run through Imagine Math, a supplemental interactive instructional program, Buffalo Principal Penny Mullins says this is putting students on the path to success.
Our school has the lowest poverty level in Logan County, but that doesn't define, and that's what we tell our students from the time they enter in pre-K until they leave us as fourth graders. No excuses. You can do it. You can be who you want to be.
Read more about the competition at WVMetroNews.com. A public hearing is set for Thursday afternoon. It'll be virtual, but originate out of the state capitol on the House of Delegates plan to lower the income tax. That's a plan being promoted by House Finance Committee Chairman Eric Householder. He was a guest earlier today on Metro News Talk Line. You can read more about it, a story posted this hour at our website. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. The University of Charleston women's basketball team could not hold on to a double-digit lead in its Elite Eight game earlier today with Drury, the Elite Eight being played in Columbus, Ohio, and UC lost the game by 8, a story at our website. Kanawha County gets a new circuit judge this hour. Longtime County Assistant Prosecutor Mary Claire Akers will take the oath of office at a ceremony in downtown Charleston. Akers replaces Circuit Judge Charlie King, who died back in December. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Jeff Jenkins.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on The Watchdog. I'm John Thayer. In the women's NCAA tournament action today, West Virginia women's basketball team will play Georgia Tech in the second round. The Yellow Jackets are 16-8 on the year, while West Virginia is 22-6. The game will be televised on ESPNU. Kentucky is back in action this afternoon against Iowa in the 4-5 matchup. The Wildcats are 18-8 on the season. Iowa enters the matchup 19-9. The afternoon contest will be televised on ESPNU. Wizards are back in action tonight. They're in New York to take on the Knicks. The Wizards are 15-26, while the Knicks are 21-22. Both teams are coming off of a loss the last time out. It's the perfect time to bring out your very best, so hurry in for great deals now at the Jeep Start Something New event. I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash, powered by The Score on The Watchdog.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can.
That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out, because when you find the perfect home, you don't want to lose it to anybody else. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers and their agents greater confidence in you. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this, what can help you buy the home you really want? Rocket can. Go to rocketmortgage.com or call us today at 8338-ROCKET. That's rocketmortgage.com or call 8338-ROCKET.
A verified approval is based on an underwriter's analysis of your individual financial information, appraisal, and title report. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally by wine and beverage merchants. With its toasty and biscuit-like malt flavors blended perfectly with hoppy freshness, it's bound to become one of your new favorite craft beers. Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive, and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchants.
When winter weather strikes the Ohio Valley, you can trust the Storm Tracker 7 weather team to help you plan your day. Our experienced meteorologists stay connected with you on TV, online, and on social. Get your weather information straight from a local source. We'll help you be prepared and make sure you'll never be surprised.
And we do expect dry conditions overnight, tonight, and all day tomorrow.
Meteorologist Dr. Dave Walker, Aaron Mylar, and me, Zach Petty, the Storm Tracker 7 weather team. Working.
In a hurry and need to see a doctor? The Woodsdale Health Center and Walk-In Clinic is located across from Little Caesars on National Road. Open 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. Patients can receive primary care, treatment of minor illnesses and injuries, wellness visits and physicals. There's also a lab draw station open from 8 to noon weekdays. A division of Wheeling Hospital, the Woodsdale Health Center is led by family physician Dr. Michael Wilson. Call 304-234-1971. They'll take good care of you.
Listen to the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Weekday mornings 7 to 10 a.m. Only on the Watchdog. Live and local talk radio, just the way you like it.
I can always get lost in that song. I'm gonna let you play that whole thing. I love it. 4:35 here at the Watchdog. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola, and of course, basketball. It's all about basketball, all the rage. Of course, this afternoon, after this show is over, we will have basketball action for you. The WVU women's team taking on Georgia Tech. That's going to go on at 5:30. And we do have to pass this note along to you. Postponed this evening is Lindsley at Wheeling Central. That game has been postponed. So we'll get more information to you when we have the full schedule shakeout. But we do know that WVU women's basketball is going to take place here 5:30 tonight on the Watchdog. And we're getting down to the nitty-gritty as far as the men's go. The tournament is down to 16 teams. So if you've been watching from the sidelines, now is your chance to get in on the action. FanDuel Sportsbook is hooking you up with an exclusive 30-1 odds on all 16 teams left in the bracket. Even the top seeds. That's right, new users get 30-1 odds on any team to win their next game in the round. That's pretty amazing, actually. You can win $150 on just a $5 bet. I got to tell you, Lola, I liked what I saw out of Michigan.
So did I.
Taking you back all the way to when Michigan basketball was dominant, and you had Weber, you got these guys, and now it's like I saw a game last night. It was like this is awesome. It felt like old school Michigan basketball. All you have to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and make your first deposit to unlock exclusive 30-1 odds. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid in as little as 24 hours. Just sign up with promo code RICK so they know that I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code RICK, R-I-C. Must be 21 and over, present in PA and West Virginia. New users only, must wager in designated offer market, $10 first deposit required, max bonus of $150. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem in West Virginia? Visit www.1800gambler.net. Boy, this year, I mean, everything about the last year of our lives has been so unpredictable, but boy, the basketball, I think, has lived up to it. I know a lot of WVU fans upset about the way that went down, but basketball in general has been absolutely fantastic in this tournament. And I mean, who would have thought of some of these teams? I know it's salt in the wound, but Oral Roberts, OU, Ohio University. Fun story about Ohio University, by the way. Of course, Joe Burrow, who is the quarterback for the Bengals and has plenty of money. That's his hometown. I mean, OU, Athens, Ohio, that's the kid's stomping grounds. He sent $500 to a local bar to buy shots for the kids that were partying in Athens. I mean, what a cool story. I mean, when you're a kid, you're growing up in Athens, Ohio, you're hoping to play for Ohio State. He goes there, doesn't work out, ends up at LSU, and just becomes perhaps the most prolific, certainly for that season that they won the national championship at LSU. I mean, certainly the best quarterback of that season, but maybe one of the best quarterback performances we've ever seen in a college level. And then he's still thinking about the kids in Athens partying and sends $500 to the school, or to a bar near the school to make sure the kids are having a good time. That's fun.
Cool.
It is fun. I wanted to thank Brendan as well. We were talking about the farming earlier, the idea of West Virginia, perhaps an opportunity to do what's being done in Moorhead, Kentucky. Appalachia is whether it's Kentucky, it's West Virginia. It can be done in this process. We're talking about the farming that the guy is doing with the indoor greenhouses, a 58 football field long greenhouse that he's able to grow tomatoes in, but any plant that grows on the vine using the retention of rainwater and all this stuff, cool stuff. And Brendan sent me a message and said vertical farming also can grow more food on less land. You can also grow fish and produce honey, something else that we could do. Thanks for the message, Brendan, and we appreciate it. And yeah, look, I think West Virginia has all of those opportunities. And you guys are always welcome, like Brendan did, to send a message directly to the Facebook page. I check it while we're doing the show. But, West Virginia, I think, has these opportunities, and I think we're pushing so hard towards this we want to cut all the taxes, cut the taxes, cut the taxes. Well, yeah, everybody loves the idea of the word tax cut, but you want to bring people in, you're going to have to give them more than that. And I think these farming opportunities are fantastic for this state. Just absolutely fantastic. So much to get to, so little time. Today's seemed to fly by. Thanks for everybody who's called. Still time to call. There's still about 15 minutes left in the show that you can get in on some of these issues. I'm a huge fan of The Simpsons. I love the show The Simpsons. I've been watching The Simpsons since I was a kid and probably too young to understand it, and I'm a 43-year-old man that will proudly tell you that I still do. And finally, after all this time, the Simpsons creators are catching some heat over the character Apu. He runs the Quickie Mart and has for 30-some seasons of The Simpsons. I think part of what enrages people is we never heard a thing about it through the first 500 Simpsons episodes. I don't think the character, in knowing what I know about The Simpsons and their creators and the characters on The Simpsons, the people that voice the characters for The Simpsons, the last thing The Simpsons, I think, have ever tried to do was be racially
correct.
Well, I don't think they've ever intended to be racially inadequate. I don't think so. I don't think that Apu is meant to be a shots fired. I think he's friends with all the people on the show. He goes to their parties. He's not looked down upon. He is just someone who works and owns the Quickie Mart.
He's just a neighbor, just like we all have.
And that's what I mean. Like, to me, it seems odd that The Simpsons and Apu could have survived this long without a budding controversy, and now all of a sudden it's wrong that he operates the Quickie Mart. But he's still not seen as just looked down upon him because he owns the Quickie Mart. I know this seems like a silly conversation to have on what is a somewhat serious news program, but again, I think it's an issue that we keep seeing things pop up. I mean, you can insert Mr. Potato Head here or Dr. Seuss there, but for me, this is the one that actually kind of drives me nuts because this is a show that I legitimately care about. And I just thought it was odd. It's kind of an odd timing to go ahead and decide that now, after all this time, that Apu is a problem when he's not presented as someone that's looked down upon on the show. And if you want to take that route, Dr. Hibbert is black. Dr. Nick Riviera is Spanish. So, I don't know. I think if you're going to go after a show, The Simpsons is not the show to go after.
It's like going after South Park, for goodness sake.
Well, see, I think South Park, I mean, I guess I did grow up in the South Park era. I was in college when South Park came on. It was right in high school going into college. And I remember every intramural team that was at school wanted to be named South Park because it was like the hottest show on television. It was so wild and controversial.
I'm not fat, I'm big boned.
Yeah, I'm big boned. So, but yeah, I think that South Park always set out to push that envelope. I think The Simpsons tackled everyday things. I think they had, obviously, it's outlandish in some ways, but also we've seen The Simpsons predicted the future in many ways. You want to go down a rabbit hole, just Google search The Simpsons predict, and an enormous list of things come up that you can go, you know what? That happened. 6 years before it happened, The Simpsons had an episode about exactly what happened. It is, if you have a couple of beers and you want to go down that path, you will seriously call me the next day and go, I don't know, The Simpsons know things. I mean, seriously, it could blow your mind. And speaking of that, people whose minds have been absolutely blown by things, Kyle texted me, my buddy, and said the first episode of the QAnon documentary is available. He said that he has watched it. And he said the Q series on HBO Max, the first episode dropped. It's pretty fascinating. These people are all in. And then he responded with, there are people that actually quit their jobs to spread the word of QAnon, like a religion. I mean, it's, a lot of people have done that. I'm definitely going to watch that. I don't know if I will get to it tonight necessarily, but we're certainly going to talk about that. I find I still think the whole thing is.
Where is this thing at?
HBO Max.
Oh.
So it's on HBO Max.
I've got that.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. I think.
I suppose I should.
Well, that's what I think right now. I think right now it's for everybody. Everybody should watch it. We have so many questions, and people have called here and asked for the best explanations that we can give when we talk about it. And I try to give them the best, but I have no problem pursuing the information on what it is and how it became, because it's still relevant.
Yeah.
And it's not going to go away because, and that's another thing. We talk about the next wave of coronavirus. We talk about the next wave of perhaps possible violence in this country over different things. We're obviously living in a violent time the day after a terribly heinous violent crime in Boulder. Those types of things aren't going to go away. And just because you haven't seen much or heard much of Donald Trump lately, and that is
he has not gone away.
Well, and he's going to come back in a big way. 2 to 3 months from now, he's going to have his own social media app. And you want to talk about hearing about QAnon? We haven't even scratched the surface of how much we're going to hear about QAnon coming up after. Because that's, look, you point fingers at him, like him, don't like him, whatever it is. The people that follow him are devoted, and they will flock to that social media app. And a lot of those people will be people that subscribe to what QAnon is selling. And we will get into that, and I will definitely watch that episode here sometime this week. And we'll talk about it here on the show. We're going to take one more break before we get to our last break of the hour. Anything you want to get in, open phone line available to you, 304-214-1600. And we'll come back, finish this thing up on the Watchdog.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally by wine and beverage merchants. With its toasty and biscuit-like malt flavors blended perfectly with hoppy freshness, it's bound to become one of your new favorite craft beers. Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive, and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchants.
When winter weather strikes the Ohio Valley, you can trust the Storm Tracker 7 weather team to help you plan your day. Our experienced meteorologists stay connected with you on TV, online, and on social. Get your weather information straight from a local source. We'll help you be prepared and make sure you'll never be surprised.
And we do expect dry conditions overnight, tonight, and all day tomorrow.
Meteorologist Dr. Dave Walker, Aaron Mylar, and me, Zach Petty, the Storm Tracker 7 weather team, working for you.
In a hurry and need to see a doctor? The Woodsdale Health Center and Walk-In Clinic is located across from Little Caesars on National Road. Open 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. Patients can receive primary care, treatment of minor illnesses and injuries, wellness visits and physicals. There's also a lab draw station open from 8 to noon weekdays. A division of Wheeling Hospital, the Woodsdale Health Center is led by family physician Dr. Michael Wilson. Call 304-234-1971. They'll take good care of you.
Wake up to the Ohio Valley's favorite morning show, The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Weekday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. Only on The Watchdog.
You got
That is the celebratory goal song of the St. Louis Blues. The Blues score, the Blues win, they play Gloria. I don't get it, but they love it, and it's fun.
It's a good song.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's a fun song. It's just, it's the Blues love it. You go to St. Louis and you put on Gloria, you'll be just fine. Just fine.
It's not any worse than Baby Shark.
No, you know what? I hate it. But I also think it's the most adorable thing for kids. My little nieces, I sing to them all the time, which they hate, but I do it anyway. And I hate to say it, I even sing Baby Shark to my dog. I totally do. And I chase her around with a fin on, like fake fin on my head. She loves it. She loves it. Let's talk about, since we started talking about the St. Louis Blues, let's talk a little bit of sports here. Not much different, I mean, getting worse, I guess you could say, for Deshaun Watson. These stories are piling up, just absolutely piling up. What do you say? I mean, again, some of the stories are actually so vile, I'm not going to discuss them on the air necessarily, but now I think it's up to 14 different people accusing Deshaun Watson of some sort of sexual misconduct, harassment, things of that nature. A couple massage therapists have come forward and said that he has asked for things that aren't regularly on the menu as a massage therapist. So it's not good. Unbelievably enough, there's also reportedly still 6 teams trying to trade for him. Can you imagine that? Broncos, Dolphins, Eagles, Jets, Panthers, and 49ers all still interested today trading for Deshaun Watson.
What's more important, morality or a winning season?
Well, I mean, you could honestly say it's winning season, hands down, for so many teams who have certainly brought back players who are less than a high moral character. In fact, everybody's franchise has. And one mistake doesn't make you a bad person. 2 mistakes doesn't make you a bad person. 5 mistakes doesn't make you a bad person. We're not talking about that
14
here.
Isn't
We're talking about, I mean, if you're interested in somebody, regardless of anything, you might say something over the line. And if that comes out, it's like, well, we heard a story about this guy. This is 14 people. 14 people telling this almost the identical story.
Yeah, the same story.
A couple of the massage therapists actually told the same story. And there's still yet 6 teams trying to score this guy. Broncos, who desperately need a quarterback because they're quarterback-centric. John Elway runs the team. I mean, you have to go there and play under John Elway. There's only been one guy who was actually successful at it, and it was Peyton Manning. And he was real good. He was real good. The Dolphins historically have struggled at quarterback really since the Marino era ended. The Eagles, Donovan McNabb got them to a Super Bowl. They never got over the hump. They got there with the combination of Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, neither one of which are Eagles anymore. So they've got to look outside. The Panthers had Cam. He moved them forward. He was also an MVP of the league. He's not there anymore. He's playing in New England. And the 49ers, who have probably one of the greatest quarterback legacies ever between Montana and Steve Young, Jimmy G didn't cut it, and really they haven't had a solid... I mean, Jeff Garcia wasn't a bad quarterback. How many years ago was that? So you have these teams that are still interested, and they're saying to themselves and saying to the Texans, we'll just look past this. Take our draft picks. Take our player. I can't believe there's 6 teams that are willing to do this. But that just goes to show you how important the revenue in the league is.
But correct me if I'm wrong. This is all civil suits.
From what I've seen so far, yeah.
You know, a team can weather that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Because that's just on him. So they're not necessarily putting any pressure on themselves to have a quarterback that can come back and take his place if he was convicted. So, you know, it's no skin off their nose.
I'm just thinking from a PR standpoint, how do you say?
They don't care.
I don't know. I think you'd be hard pressed, and maybe Philadelphia is the spot where they wouldn't care. But I think you'd be hard pressed. And Denver is fairly liberal. You're going to tell me that you're going to bring in a guy who's been accused of this, guilty, not the point.
Denver is a little different than the rest of Colorado. If he wins, all bets are off.
Winning does solve everything.
You had a dog fighter that came back, and let's face it, there are a lot of pet lovers, a lot of dog lovers. No one batted an eye about bringing him back. So,
I was absolutely revolted. I'll be honest with you. I did not watch the Steelers while Michael Vick played for them. Honestly, I'll say it loud and proud. I hope he gets bit by a dog today. I hate the guy. Oh, Lola, I didn't mean that. Look at you.
Yes, you did.
I didn't see you drinking. I'm sorry. I didn't. But yeah, I hate the guy.
Water came out my nose.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I did not see that you were drinking back there. The mic was in my way. I didn't see it. We'll move to a different subject. Mike Tyson, who of course is not young, but put on an exhibition fight recently because I watched it at my house and it was pretty exciting. I enjoyed it. He turned down $25 million to fight on May 29th at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. He was set to fight Evander Holyfield. Last time the two of them got into a ring, he bit Evander's ear off.
Does Evander really want to get in the ring with him again?
Well, I think the two have buried the hatchet. They seem to be on a good footing. I mean, obviously, it would be just an exhibition fight, but $25 million Tyson turned down, and he looked really. I mean, for his age, he looked pretty incredible in the sparring or the match that I saw him fight. What could be on the horizon that you turn down $25 million? Don't forget, there was one point in history, and it wasn't all that long ago, Mike Tyson was penniless raising pigeons on the roof of some New York...
He was in prison.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, he was in prison, but yeah, I mean, he was penniless, and now he's turning down $25 million. I think everybody who at least is my age would want to see that fight, even if it doesn't matter, even if it's all for naught, even if it's just two guys going in an exhibition. When Mike Tyson fights, people watch it.
There will be money involved. Whether they get any money or not, the betting will be off the charts.
So, are you kidding? The betting will be huge. I'll leave you with this last thing here. I thought this was a pretty cool, interesting thing. Rock god Lemmy Kilmister, who was in a band called Motorhead, you may or may not have heard of them, although Lemmy has pushed his way into pop culture. He recently died. Well, he died a while ago, but his ashes, he was cremated. Mm-hmm. They were turned into commemorative bullets and given to his friends so everybody could take a piece of Lemmy with them and proudly display it. I never heard that. I've heard of people being decomposed into trees, but that's about it. All right, we're going to wrap it up for the day. You guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. WVU women's basketball on tonight at 5:30. For Lola, I'm Rick. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock right here on The Watchdog.